Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News, where we bring you the latest breaking developments from the Emirates. Today we got some absolutely extraordinary news that is going to blow your mind. We are talking major transfer revelations, squad updates that will change everything you thought you knew about Arsenal's current situation, and exclusive insights that Fabrizio Romano himself has been tracking closely. Before we dive into the details, let me tell you what we are covering in today's episode. We have got confirmation on Arsenal's 8-player transfer shortlist that has emerged heading into this critical January window. We are talking about targets ranging from young prodigies to established superstars, players who would transform this title challenge into something truly special. But that is not all. We have also got crucial updates on the Antoine Semenyo transfer saga and how a potential move to Manchester City could directly impact Arsenal's upcoming fixtures. This is a story with massive implications for our title race, and the timeline is absolutely critical. We're talking about a £65 million release clause that expires on January 10th, and the dominoes are starting to fall. Now, here is what makes today's video absolutely essential viewing. Arsenal are sitting at the top of the Premier League table right now. Top of the table. That is where we want to be. That is where we have fought to be. And the decisions made in this January window could be the difference between celebrating a title at the end of the season or watching it slip away. The question facing Mikel Arteta and the club is simple but profound. Stick or twist. Do we maintain faith in the squad that has taken us to the summit? Or do we reinforce and strengthen to ensure this title challenge does not fall short? According to the latest reports that Fabrizio Romano and other top sources have been monitoring, Arsenal are not sitting idle. They are actively exploring options. They are being offered players, and they are considering moves that could reshape the entire dynamic of this title race. We have got information on established midfielders like Ruben Neves, who has been directly offered to Arsenal. We have got details on creative prodigies like Arda Güler and Keenan, Yildiz, who could provide the goals and creativity that every title-winning team needs. We have got insights into young defensive prospects and midfield talents who represent the future of this football club. And here's the thing that makes this even more fascinating. Despite having what appears to be a complete squad with no obvious weaknesses, Arsenal are still looking at 8 different players. 8. That tells you everything about the ambition at this club right now. That tells you that Arteta is not content with just being at the top of the table. He wants to stay there, and he wants to dominate. We are also going to break down how the summer signings like Martin Zubimendi and Noni Madueke have already made a significant impact. We are going to discuss why Leandro Trossard has suddenly exploded into form with 5 goals and 4 assists in just 11 starts. We are going to analyze the return of Gabriel Jesus and what that means for Arsenal's attacking options going forward. The upcoming match against Bournemouth takes on extra significance in all of this, and we are going to explain exactly why. With Bournemouth on a 10-game winless streak and sitting just 5 points above the relegation zone, this should be 3 points in the bag for Arsenal. But the presence of Antoine Semenyo, who has scored 3 goals in his last 4 games despite his team struggles, means we cannot take anything for granted. Everything is interconnected in this story. The transfers, the squad depth, the injury situations, the tactical decisions, and the crucial fixtures coming up, including that massive test against Liverpool that is on the horizon. This is the most important period of Arsenal season so far, and the choices made in the next few weeks could define whether this becomes a campaign we remember forever or one that leaves us wondering what might have been. So stick with me as we break down every single detail, every rumor, every confirmed piece of information, and every tactical implication of what is happening at Arsenal right now. This is Arsenal Daily News, and this is the video you cannot afford to miss. Arsenal Daily News. Complete analysis of transfer targets and squad assessment. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we have got some absolutely fascinating developments coming out of the Emirates, and I'm going to break down everything you need to know about Arsenal's current situation, their recent performance, and the massive transfer shortlist that has emerged heading into the January window. The Aston Villa statement victory. Let me start with the most recent match, because it sets the context for everything we're going to discuss today. Arsenal absolutely demolished Aston Villa 4-1, and this was not just any victory. This was a statement performance against a team that have been the league's form team coming into this fixture. For one, that scoreline does not even tell the full story of Arsenal's dominance on the day. What made this performance even more impressive was the manner of it. According to reports, the second half became the sort of performance that could have seen even more goals scored. Arsenal were not just winning, they were setting a real marker down for the rest of the league. This was against Unai Emery, a manager known for his tactical nous, someone who knows how to set up a team defensively and make life difficult for opponents. But Arsenal found a way through, and they did it in style. The victory was particularly significant because it came without Declan Rice. Now, that is a massive talking point. Arsenal showed they can live without such an important player, at least for one match. But let me be clear here. The manager Mikel Arteta will not want to be without Rice for too long, especially with Liverpool on the horizon. That upcoming match against Liverpool represents another opportunity for Arsenal to demonstrate their title credentials. The title race context. Speaking of title credentials, Arsenal sit top of the Premier League table as we head into the new year. Top of the table. That is where every Arsenal fan wanted to be. And that is where the team has positioned themselves through consistent performances and big wins like this one against Villa. But here is the question that Arteta and the club face, and it is a crucial one. Stick or twist? Do they maintain the squad as it is, showing faith in the players who got them to the top of the table? Or do they twist and bring in reinforcements during the January transfer window to strengthen their push for the title? With hindsight, the article suggests that Arteta would have been content with his squad when the transfer window closed previously. But circumstances change, injuries happen, and opportunities arise. That brings us to the player availability situation. Squad availability and injuries. The article mentions that Arsenal have had to do without Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus until the second half of the season. Now, Gabriel Jesus has looked remarkably sharp after returning from being out of action for the best part of a year. That is significant. A year out of action is a long time in football, but Jesus is back, and he will soon be challenging to start according to reports. Then there is the interesting case of Victor Gyökeres. The article specifically states that Gyökeres is battering away, but he is not getting enough chances to score. Whether this is due to his movement, the runs he is making, or those who are tasked with creating chances, the statistic is the same. He is not getting the service he needs. This is clearly something that needs addressing, whether through tactical adjustments or through the players around him improving their creativity. The summer signings making an impact. Now, let me talk about the new signings, because this is where things get really interesting. The article states clearly that new signings like Martin Zubimendi and Noni Madueke have made a difference. These are described as new signings, players who have come in and improved the squad. Martin Zubimendi has added composure and control to the midfield, but it is not just about what he does himself. He has given more freedom to Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. That is a sign of a really intelligent midfielder, someone who does not just improve his own performance but elevates those around him. The freedom that Rice and Odegaard now have to get forward and create is a direct result of Zubimendi's presence in that midfield. Noni Madueke has also been mentioned as a new signing. Now, the article says that maybe he has not quite made the same impact as Zubimendi, but here is the interesting part. With 5 goals and 4 assists in 11 starts, Leandro Trossard has clearly upped his game. The implication here is that Madueke's arrival has pushed Trossard to perform at a higher level. Competition for places does that. It brings out the best in players. The additions in the center defense have also been key during periods of injury to William Saliba and Gabriel. When your first choice center backs are out, you need quality depth, and Arsenal have clearly invested in that area. The current squad assessment. On the face of it, according to the article, there are no weaknesses in the squad. Read that again. No weaknesses. Arsenal have built a squad that looks complete on paper. They have quality in every position, depth across the team, and players who can come in and maintain the level of performance. And yet, despite this apparently complete squad, Arsenal have been linked with a host of possible targets. 8 players, to be precise. 8. That is not just looking at 1 or 2 positions. That is a comprehensive review of where the squad could potentially be improved. The 8-player transfer shortlist. According to Caught Offside, no fewer than 8 players have been linked with Arsenal. The article breaks these down into different categories, and I'm going to go through each one so you understand exactly what Arsenal might be planning. The young prospects. First up, we've got 3 players who have enjoyed breakthrough seasons and would be signed as backup options to start off with. These are Davide Bardesaghi, Honest Ahoner, and Jeremy Jacquet. Now, these are not household names yet, but that is the point. Arsenal are looking at young players who are having good seasons, players who could come in as squad options initially and develop into more important players over time. This is smart recruitment. You are not always going to sign the finished article. Sometimes you need to invest in potential. Give these players time to adapt to the Premier League and Arsenal-style play, and then watch them develop. Next, we have 2 players with similar profiles in terms of age and potential, Aya Bouadi and Alexander Stankovic. The article states that both would cost around a £40 million mark. £40 million. That is not insignificant money, even in today's market. But both could add depth and quality according to reports. These are clearly players who Arsenal rate highly if they are willing to consider spending £40 million on either of them. At that price point, you are not just buying potential. You are buying players who are expected to contribute relatively quickly. The established midfielder. Then we come to Ruben Neves. Now this is interesting because Ruben Neves is described as the finished article. He is not a prospect. He is not a young player with potential. He is an established midfielder who has proven himself at the highest level. Here is the crucial detail, though. Ruben Neves is a player who has been offered to Arsenal. That is the key phrase. He has been offered to them. This is not Arsenal chasing him necessarily. This is his representatives or his club making him available, and Arsenal being one clubs approached. The article states that a concrete response is yet to be made, which suggests that he is being considered. Arsenal have not said yes. They have not said no. They are thinking about it. They are weighing up whether Ruben Neves fits into their plans, whether he represents good value, whether he is the right player for this team at this moment. If Arteta decided to move for Neves, he would have an experienced midfielder who knows the Premier League, who can control games, who can offer something different to what Arsenal already have. But the fact that a concrete response has not been made suggests this is not a priority target right now. The creative attackers. Finally, we have Kenan Yildiz and Arda Güler. These are described as prodigious talents. Prodigious, that is a strong word. These are not just good young players. These are exceptional young players with huge potential. The article states they will provide more creativity and more goals. That is what every top team needs. You can never have too much creativity. You can never have too many goal threats. If you can bring in players who offer both, that is incredibly valuable. Now here is the important caveat. The article says whether or not they are targets for January, Arsenal fans will have to wait and see. So we are not talking about confirmed interest here. We are talking about players who have been linked, players whose names are being mentioned, but no concrete information about whether Arsenal are actually pursuing them in this window. Arda Güler in particular is an interesting name. According to the article, he is on Arsenal's 8-name transfer shortlist. His name is specifically mentioned in the headline. But again, whether this is genuine interest or just speculation, we do not have confirmation one way or the other. What does this all mean for Arsenal? So let me try to put all of this together and make sense of what Arsenal might be planning. You've got a team sitting top of the Premier League table. You have got a squad that on paper has no weaknesses. You have got new signings from the summer who are making a positive impact. And yet you are still being linked with 8 different players. What does that tell us? It tells us that Arsenal are not standing still. It tells us that Mikel Arteta and the recruitment team are constantly looking for ways to improve, ways to add quality, ways to ensure that this title challenge does not fall short because of a lack of depth or a lack of options. The fact that they are looking at such a diverse range of players is also significant. Young prospects who could be backup options, midfielders in their prime like Ruben Neves, creative attackers like Yildiz and Güler. This is not a scattergun approach. This is a comprehensive review of where the squad could be improved. The January window decision. Coming back to that question I posed earlier, stick or twist. Based on everything in this article, it seems like Arsenal are at least considering the twist option. They're looking at their options. They're being offered players. They're monitoring young talents across Europe. But here's the thing about January windows. They are difficult. Clubs do not want to sell their best players mid-season. Prices are inflated. Players who move in January often struggle to adapt quickly because they are coming into a team mid-season without a proper preseason. So while Arsenal might be linked with 8 players, the reality is that they might not sign any of them in January. They might decide to stick with what they've got, trust in the squad that has got them to the top of the table, and then revisit these targets in the summer when the market is more favorable. The competition factor. One thing I want to highlight that the article makes clear is the impact of competition within the squad. I mentioned earlier how Leandro Trossard has upped his game with 5 goals and 4 assists in 11 starts. That level of output is excellent, and it seems to have come about because of the competition for places. Gabriel Jesus is back and will soon be challenging to start. Noni Madueke has come in and is pushing for minutes. This internal competition is healthy. It keeps players on their toes. It maintains standards in training. It ensures that nobody can relax and coast on reputation. If Arsenal do bring in 1 or 2 of these linked players, the competition will only intensify. That could be a good thing if it continues to push players like Trossard perform at high levels. But it could also be a risk if squad harmony is affected or if good players become frustrated with lack of game time. The tactical flexibility question. The article mentions something interesting about Victor Gyökeres not getting enough chances to score. It poses a question of whether this is due to his movement, the runs he is making, or those who are tasked with creating chances. This is a tactical question, as much as it is a personnel question. If Arsenal are not creating enough chances for their striker, that could be a system issue. Maybe the wingers need to get to byline more. Maybe the midfielders need to play more through balls. Maybe Gyökeres needs to adjust his movement to find space and behind defenses more consistently. Or maybe, and this is where the transfer links become relevant, maybe Arsenal need different types of players to create those chances. That is where someone like Arda Güler or Kenan Yildiz could potentially come in. If they are creative attackers who can unlock defenses, they might provide the service that Gyökeres needs to start scoring more regularly. The Liverpool test. The article mentions that Liverpool are on the horizon and that this match represents another opportunity for Arsenal to demonstrate their title credentials. This is significant because Liverpool are always a tough opponent, and how Arsenal perform in that match could influence their January transfer thinking. If they go to Anfield and dominate, if they show that they can beat the best teams in the league without any reinforcements, that might make them more inclined to stick with the current squad. But if they struggle, if they find themselves lacking in certain areas, that might push them towards making a signing or 2. The absence of Declan Rice for that match would be particularly problematic. Arsenal showed against Villa that they can cope without him for 1 game, but Liverpool is a different test entirely. That is where the depth of the squad really matters. Financial considerations. The article mentions that Aya Bouadi and Alexander Stankovic would both cost around £40 million. That is £80 million for 2 players if Arsenal wanted both. Add in potential fees for any of the other targets, and you are talking about a significant investment. Arsenal's owners have shown in recent windows that they are willing to back Arteta with funds. The summer signings of Zubimendi, Madueke, and others demonstrate that. But there are always financial considerations, especially with financial fair play regulations. January is also typically a more expensive window. Clubs know that teams who come calling in January are often doing so out of need, so they can charge a premium. Arsenal will have to weigh up whether paying those inflated prices is worth it for the players available. The long-term vision. What is clear from this article is that Arsenal are not just thinking about the here and now. Yes, they are top of the table and challenging for the title this season. But the links to young prospects like Bardasagi, Ahaner, Xhaka, Bouadi, and Stankovic show that they're also thinking about the future. This is smart club management. You cannot just focus on the next 6 months. You have to think about where the squad will be in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years. By identifying and potentially signing these young players now, Arsenal are building for sustained success rather than just a 1-season title challenge. Conclusion: So let me wrap this up. Arsenal are in a fascinating position. They are top of the Premier League table after an emphatic 4-1 win over Aston Villa that showed their quality and their ability to dominate even without key players. They have a squad that looks complete on paper with no obvious weaknesses. But they are not being complacent. According to reports, 8 players are on their transfer shortlist, ranging from young prospects to established stars. Ruben Neves has been offered to them, and they are considering it. Creative talents like Kenan Yildiz and Arda Güler have been linked. Young defenders and midfielders are being monitored. Whether any of these moves happen in January remains to be seen. The article makes clear that for some of these targets, Arsenal fans will have to wait and see. But what is certain is that Arsenal are in a strong position. They are thinking strategically about how to maintain and improve their squad, and they have the financial backing to make moves if the right opportunities arise. The Liverpool match will be a key test of where the squad is at. But regardless of that result, Arsenal are clearly a club with ambition, with a plan, and with the resources to compete at the highest level. This is an exciting time to be an Arsenal fan, and the coming weeks could tell us a lot about just how serious this title challenge is going to be. That is all for today's analysis here on Arsenal Daily News. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Hit that notification bell so you do not miss any updates. And let me know in the comments which of these 8 linked players you would most like to see Arsenal sign. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Arsenal Daily News. Antoine Semenyo transfer saga and what it means for the Gunners. Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we got some really interesting transfer news that directly impacts Arsenal, and I want to break down everything you need to know about this developing story. We are talking about Antoine Semenyo, the Bournemouth winger who's been absolutely on fire this season, and how his potential move to Manchester City could affect our upcoming fixture against the Cherries. Now, before we dive deep into this analysis, let me set the scene for you. Bournemouth are going through an absolutely torrid time right now. They started the season brilliantly, but things have completely fallen apart for them. They are currently on a 10-game winless streak in the Premier League. Yes, you heard that right. 10 games without a single victory. Their last one came all the way back in October against Nottingham Forest, and since then has been a nightmare for manager Andoni Iraola and his squad. This poor run of form has seen Bournemouth tumble down the table. They now sit in 15th position, which is a massive drop from where they were earlier in the season. What is even more concerning for them is that they are only 5 points above 18th place West Ham. That means the relegation zone is starting to look uncomfortably close for a team that had such high hopes just a few months ago. But here is where the story gets really interesting for us Arsenal fans. In the middle of all this chaos at Bournemouth, there is one player who has been shining bright. That player is Antoine Semenyo. Despite his team struggling badly, Semenyo has been absolutely exceptional this season. He has already bagged 9 goals and provided 3 assists in the Premier League. That is an impressive return for a winger playing a team that cannot buy a win right now. What makes Semenyo even more dangerous is his recent form. He has scored 3 goals in his last 4 games. Think about that for a moment. His team has not won in 10 matches, yet he is still finding the back of the net regularly. That tells you everything you need to know about his quality and his ability to perform even when everything around him is falling apart. Now, let me tell you about the transfer situation that is unfolding. According to the article, Semenyo is widely expected to leave Bournemouth during the opening days of the January transfer window. The speculation surrounding a move to Manchester City has been absolutely rife in recent days. This is not just random gossip. There seems to be genuine substance to these rumors. Here is where it gets particularly interesting. Semenyo has a £65 million release clause in his contract. Yes, £65 million. That is a significant amount of money. But given his performances this season, you could argue it might actually be good value in today's inflated transfer market. However, there is a catch. This release clause must be triggered before January 10th. That is a very specific deadline, and it is believed that Manchester City are close to agreeing terms with Bournemouth to activate that clause. Now, on Tuesday evening, Bournemouth played Chelsea, and the match ended in a 2-2 draw. Semenyo started that game and played the full 90 minutes. After the match, Manager Andoni Iraola was asked about Semenyo's future, and his response was really telling. He said, and I quote, "I do not know what's going to happen, but he will definitely play versus Arsenal. This is not his last game." Iraola went on to explain his thinking. He said Semenyo needs to recover because Bournemouth play Arsenal at home in another 3 days. He specifically mentioned that Arsenal are top of the league, and Semenyo will be an important player for them in that match. So there you have it, straight from the manager's mouth. Semenyo will be playing against us. Let me break down what is happening here from a tactical and strategic perspective. Bournemouth find themselves in a really difficult position. On one hand, they know Semenyo wants to leave and Manchester City are willing to pay his release clause. The transfer seems almost inevitable at this point. But on the other hand, they have 2 massive games coming up before that January 10th deadline. They face Arsenal on January 4th, and then Tottenham after that. For a team that has not won in 10 games and is sliding dangerously close to the relegation zone, these next 2 matches are absolutely crucial. They need points desperately. And who is their best player? Who is the one guy who has been carrying them through this terrible run? Antoine Semenyo. So Iraola is in a position where he simply cannot afford to rest or drop his star player, even though he knows the transfer is likely to go through in just a few days. From Arsenal's perspective, this is both good news and bad news. Let me explain what I mean. The bad news is that we are going to face Bournemouth when they still have their best and most dangerous player available. Semenyo has been in red-hot form, scoring 3 goals in his last 4 games. He is the kind of player who can punish you if you give him even half a chance. Our defense is going to need to be really sharp and focused on keeping him quiet. But here is the good news for us. Bournemouth are in absolute crisis mode. 10 games without a win. The confidence must be at rock bottom. The atmosphere around the club must be tense and anxious. Yes, they have Semenyo. But football is a team game, and the team as a whole is not functioning well at all. They are sitting in 15th place for a reason. Also, consider the mental state of Semenyo himself. This is a player who knows he is about to leave. He knows a move to Manchester City, one of the biggest clubs in world football, is just days away. He knows his release clause expires on January 10th. How focused can he really be on a game against Arsenal when his mind must be at least partially on this massive transfer? It is human nature. Even the most professional players find it difficult to fully concentrate when their future is uncertain and a life-changing move is imminent. There is another angle to consider here as well. If Semenyo does go to Manchester City, that could actually be beneficial for Arsenal in the title race. Now, I know Manchester City are our direct rivals for the Premier League title, but think about it this way. City already have an incredibly strong squad. Adding Semenyo makes them even stronger, sure, but does it really move the needle that much for them? They already have world-class attacking options. However, Bournemouth losing Semenyo could have a ripple effect that helps us. If Bournemouth get even weaker after losing their best player, they become easier opponents for everyone else in the league. That includes some of our title rivals. When Bournemouth face Manchester City later in the season, they will be a much weaker team without Semenyo. When they face Liverpool, they will be easier to beat. Any points that our rivals drop against the weakened Bournemouth side could be crucial in a tight title race. Let me also talk about the timing of all this. The article mentions that Bournemouth's strong start to the season has completely evaporated. They were doing really well early on, and people were impressed with how Iraola had them playing. But something's gone badly wrong. 10 games without a win is a catastrophic run of form at this level. The pressure on the manager must be immense. The pressure on the players must be enormous. When a team is in that kind of spiral, confidence becomes everything. And right now, Bournemouth's confidence must be shattered. They go into every game expecting something to go wrong. They probably go a goal down and immediately think, here we go again, another game where we cannot get a result. That kind of mentality is incredibly hard to break, especially when you are facing the team at the top of the league. Arsenal, on the other hand, should be full of confidence. If we are indeed top of the league, as the article states, then our boys will be going to this game believing they can and should win. That psychological advantage cannot be underestimated. Football is as much a mental game as it is a physical one, and right now the momentum is entirely in our favor. Now, let me address something important. The article describes this potential transfer to Manchester City as something that is widely expected, and that speculation has been rife. It says it is believed that City are close to agreeing terms with Bournemouth. But we need to be clear here. As of right now, based on what the article tells us, this is not a done deal. This is still at the rumor and negotiation stage. Nothing has been officially confirmed or announced. Could the deal fall through? Theoretically, yes. Could Semenyo change his mind? Possibly. Could Manchester City decide to pull out? It is not impossible. But the way the article is written, with phrases like widely expected and close to agreeing terms, suggests that this transfer is very likely to happen. The release clause being active until January 10th gives us a clear timeline. City know they have until that date to get the deal done, and it seems like they are working hard to make it happen. For Irola, this must be incredibly frustrating. He has built his team around Semenyo this season. The winger has been his most reliable source of goals and creativity. Losing him in January, right in the middle of this terrible run of form, could be devastating for Bournemouth's season. But the reality of modern football is that when a big club comes calling with big money, and when a player has a release clause, there is not much you can do to stop it. The fact that Irola is being so open about the situation is interesting. He is not trying to pretend everything is fine. He is not giving the standard, the player is focused on Bournemouth line that managers usually give in these situations. Instead, he is being honest. He is saying he does not know what is going to happen, but he needs Semenyo for these crucial games before the release clause deadline. That honesty is refreshing, but it also shows just how difficult his position is right now. Let me put this into context for Arsenal fans watching this video. When we face Bournemouth on January 4th, we need to be prepared for a team that is desperate. Yes, they have not won in 10 games. Yes, they are in poor form. But desperate teams can be dangerous teams. They have nothing to lose. They will throw everything at us, especially in front of their home crowd. Semenyo will be their main threat. Our defense, whether it's William Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, whoever is playing, they need to be aware of him at all times. He has pace, he has skill, and he has been scoring goals even when his team is not creating many chances. Those are the kind of players who can hurt you if you are not careful. But I am confident in our ability to handle this challenge. Arsenal have been excellent this season. If we really are top of the league, it is because we have earned it through good performances and consistent results. Bournemouth, even with Semenyo, should not be a team we fear. We should be going to their stadium expecting to win. We should be looking at this as an opportunity to pick up 3 points from a team in crisis. The timing of this game is actually quite good for us in some ways. Bournemouth will have one eye on this transfer saga. Their best player might be distracted. The team as a whole is low on confidence. If we start the game well, if we get an early goal, I think Bournemouth could completely collapse. That 10-game winless run will be weighing heavily on their minds, and any setback could cause them to mentally crumble. One more thing I want to touch on is what this says about the transfer market in general. £65 million for a winger who, let us be honest, most casual football fans had probably not heard of 2 years ago. That shows you how inflated the market has become. But it also shows you that if you perform consistently in the Premier League, the big clubs will notice. Semenyo has taken his chance this season, and now he is about to get a move to Manchester City. That is a dream for every player at a mid-table club. For Bournemouth, getting £65 million for Semenyo is actually good business in one sense. They signed him from Bristol City, so they will make a significant profit. That money could be reinvested in the squad, potentially bringing in 2 or 3 players to replace him. But the problem is timing. Losing your best player in January when you are in a relegation battle is terrible timing. Even with £65 million to spend, can they bring in replacements quickly enough? Can those replacements adapt fast enough to save their season? As Arsenal fans, we should be watching the situation closely for multiple reasons. First, obviously, because we play Bournemouth very soon and need to know what to expect. Second, because this affects Manchester City, our title rivals, and any strengthening of their squad is relevant to our title hopes. And third, because it shows how quickly things can change in football. Bournemouth started the season well, but one bad run, and suddenly they're fighting relegation and losing their best players. In conclusion, here is what we know from this article. Antoine Semenyo is widely expected to leave Bournemouth for Manchester City in the January transfer window. He has a £65 million release clause that must be triggered by January 10th. Manchester City are believed to be close to agreeing terms with Bournemouth. Semenyo will definitely play against Arsenal on January 4th, according to his manager. Bournemouth are on a 10-game winless run and are in 15th place, only 5 points above the relegation zone. Semenyo has been their best player with 9 goals and 3 assists this season, including 3 goals in his last 4 games. For Arsenal, this means we face a dangerous individual player in Semenyo, but we face him in a team that is struggling badly and low on confidence. We should be going into this game expecting to win. 3 points from this match would be massive as we continue our push for the title. Bournemouth will be tough to break down perhaps, desperate for points, but we have the quality to get the job done. That is all for today's analysis. Make sure you subscribe to Arsenal Daily News. If you have not already, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments what you think about this Semenyo situation. Do you think it will cause us problems? Are you confident we will beat Bournemouth? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Come on, you Gunners.